I wear this shirt in a lot of videos because it's one of my favorite shirts. It's comfortable, it looks cool, and now there's actually a reason to wear it. Because this video is going to be my top 5 pop punk vinyl records. I've talked about a lot of them in the past, but now I'm going to show you all at once. So in this video, I did not include 2 records that I enjoy, one of which is Jimmy Eat World's Bleed American, should definitely be on this list, but I feel like I talk about it in a lot of videos, and I can think of 2 in particular where I've actually shown off the deluxe 3-disc pressing I own. So I'll just say now, one of my favorites, but I'm going to leave the real estate of this video to have some more unique things that maybe I don't talk about as much. And secondly, I would probably put Brand New's Your Favorite Weapon, but I haven't listened to them in a while because of what happened with Jesse Lacey. So to match my shirt, we're going to start off with one of the best of all time, Chroma by Cartel. They have a bunch of albums and they're all pretty good, but for some reason they just knocked it out of the park with Chroma. This is just one of the highest energy, best pop punk albums of all time. The singles, you know, are really good. Say Anything Else, Honestly, but there isn't one song on this album that I don't love. And Q&A is a really interesting way to end the album. It's kind of these 2 tracks that are almost retrospectives of what you've heard already, like greatest hits, throwbacks, but done in a really unique medley kind of way. Really, really good album. Just beyond what the average pop punk album was of the mid-2000s. And this is the midpoint of the mid-2000s. It came out in 2005. So I got to see them in 2015 on their 10-year anniversary, and they did Chroma in full, and they also had a vinyl pressing to go along with it, the first ever vinyl pressing. So really nice, thick. This is a gigantic spine. I know where this one is no matter where it is in my collection. Has a really cool die-cut cover, and it is on colored vinyl. A nice white to match the cover. Simple, elegant, well done, great pressing, but something will always be a sore spot with me for this album. It is that when you purchased this, along with your ticket for the tour or whatever you did, there was a checkbox that said, if you'd like the band to sign your record, check this. I didn't see that box. And I picked up my record, and it was unsigned. And then my buddy Mike, who's probably watching this video because he loves pop punk and actually got me into this record and a bunch of other ones that I loved since high school. He doesn't even have a record player, and he bought the record, and his is signed, and he showed me a picture, and I was incredibly jealous. I still am. One of my biggest regrets, not hitting that box, because I love this album so much, and it could have been fully signed by the band for nothing. But you live and you learn, and maybe I'll meet them one day at a show, and I'll get it signed organically. Speaking of signed records, we're moving right along to Nightmare of You's self-titled record. This album is underrated in the sense that not a lot of people talk about Nightmare of You, and they talk about some of the best like 2000s pop punk kind of emo stuff. I love this album. I love this dude's voice. His melodies are sometimes kind of creepy and haunting, sometimes really fun and sugary, and this is just a really good album. Inside the gatefold, he happens to have a 10-inch record. What a cool packaging design. And it is the Bang EP, which is an EP to go along with it. Really cool white with this purpley reddish yellow splatter. I like that it's housed inside the jacket. I think that's a really nice touch. Maximizing the real estate and space they have. I've said real estate in this video twice. That's very good. This was out of print for a while, and then the lead singer posted on Facebook, on his personal Facebook, that he found like a box of them and he was selling them for face value. And I messaged him and I was like, I'd like to buy one. Will you sign it for me? And he said, sure. So he signed it for me, which is great. The song that got me into them in high school is I Want to Be Buried in Your Backyard. It's a great place to start, but just listen to this whole thing if you don't know it. It is a really solid album. And the color of the record is really cool too. This white with this rainbow kind of splatter on it. Yeah, so Nightmare of You, definitely one of my more memorable albums from high school. And super stoked that I got the guy who sings on it to sign it for me. Good timing. Another one of my seminal high school albums, Boys Like Girls, self-titled. Much like Cartel's Chroma, they really just knocked it out of the park with their first album, and then everything after that was just not nearly as good. I don't know why, because every song on this album is unbelievable. Like, it plays through like greatest hits, and I would assume it was a greatest hits if I did not know this band at all. But this is a really cool 10th anniversary edition. I'm loving all the 10th anniversary editions they're doing with emo stuff, especially recently. Number 489 out of 500. This version was the first pressing of it, and it came in this kind of PVC type sleeve, and the record itself is rad. Much like the splatter on the cover, it is a nice little blend of this kind of like blue, green, red. It matches perfectly. They managed to get those colors spot on. But I'm a little bummed that this version doesn't have an actual jacket. I believe the second press does have a jacket. It might be a gatefold, I'm not sure. But I'm happy to have the more elusive first pressing because this album is just so much fun. The first song, the first single, The Great Escape, is my first exposure to them back in high school, and it is just one of the catchiest songs I've ever heard. Super fun to sing along to, and the album holds up front to back. So if you don't know Boys Like Girls, or if the name sounded dumb and you decided not to listen to them, now you should give them a chance. It's a great song. Next up we have Soko, Something Corporate. This is Andrew McMahon's first band before Jack's Mannequin, which is also excellent. I would talk about Everything in Transit in this video, but I also talk about that one quite a bit. But this was him before that, and then before he went Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness, which is his newest project, which is good, but not as good as the previous two. And Enjoy the Ride put out this record, which is Leaving Through the Window. It's now super out of print, very hard to find. I'm very happy I was able to track it down. The current version I own is, I managed to get this blue, which is the one I wanted the most. There's also a green one I want a lot too, but I tracked down the blue, and there's a couple different colorways that it comes in. This is just a fun album. He's young on this album, so it's a lot of that kind of young mentality, young love kind of lyricism. I would say the standout tracks are Punk Rock Princess, I Woke Up in a Car is arguably his biggest song, is Something Corporate, and he plays that a lot live now because it's just great. If You See Jordan, Kavanaugh Park is great. And then Constantine, the bonus track, is amazing. So this is a really good album. And if you like Jack's Mannequin and you like that kind of piano-based, kind of sugary, fun music that has the emo edge to it and a little bit of punk rock at times, Something Corporate is definitely worth putting on your radar. And finally, Bad Timing Records put out Acceptance Phantoms. This was maybe like a year after I got into records, or maybe the year I got into records heavily. I remember thinking, oh, Acceptance doesn't have a vinyl pressing of their album, and then all of a sudden, like a couple months later, they did. So this is sometimes I think my favorite pop punk record of all time. It's moody, it's atmospheric, the guy's voice is exceptional, and I got this really cool variant. It's this blue, marbly kind of with like white swirl in there. Matches the cover really well, because the cover, as you saw, it was this kind of blue and white ethereal kind of look to it. But yeah, this album is just another one where it's just every song is so catchy. I mean, that's what I love about pop punk, is that the music is very catchy. Lyrics are often relatable, especially if you're going through something, or if you're young and you're kind of discovering what it's like to be heartbroken, or to like lose a friend, or whatever it may be. You can always relate to something in the music, whether it's now or in the past. And Phantoms is just a masterful listen. They disappeared after this album. This was their first album and their only album for a while, until I think last year they put out their follow-up. Great album, but not nearly as good as the Time Capsule, which is Phantoms. And this is also very hard to find now, so glad I grabbed it when I did, and I'm glad they decided to press it, because this is one that is worthy of a press. So those are 5 of my favorite pop punk records that I happen to own on vinyl. I love pop punk, which I talk about a lot, so there are more records than those that I love. Leave a comment with your favorite pop punk record, because I'm always discovering new stuff. Like recently, I'm actually realizing that I love Newfound Glory, and I never really thought I liked them beyond Catalyst. So they really are a good band. I'm going to dive further into them and try to track down some of their harder to find pressings, but leave me a comment with what you think your favorite pop punk records are. Pop punk never dies. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, and more videos soon.